All right, Algebra Semester 1. We're going to continue our 5.2 lesson today. Hopefully a shorter video. I'm hoping we can keep it to under 15 minutes. I know the last one kind of got long, but it's a complicated process. I could tell on the homework that some of us were able to figure it out and some weren't, so there's definitely cause here and reason for a second assignment. Keep working on submitting those. I said in my message from earlier that I'm working on getting Infinite Campus updated, but we still got to keep plugging away at the daily assignments. We'll do a shorter quiz kind of on these concepts next week. I'm going to let you know how that'll work and everything, so it's important that you're understanding how we're not only just getting the assignments done, but how we're doing the work. So I'm just going to continue the notes that we started last time. These are the exact same ones. You can kind of see, so if you're looking at this and saying, I haven't seen this before, you got to go back and watch the previous video. We'll spend just a quick second here going over the steps. This was the big notes as far as what we're doing. We're solving systems of equations using substitution. Started with getting a variable by itself, taking that expression then and substituting it into the second equation and solving. That was kind of the big step, step 2. Step 3 was then like a second substitution, and this was definitely one that we need to keep working on, and then also the check. So I'll kind of point these out as we go, and we'll do it the same way where we kind of number our steps. So you can kind of see from last time everything was laid out as far as kind of the different steps we were doing. So go back and watch some of that if you're looking for that particular example. We'll pick up with this one here. So this first example for today's notes is going to align with your first 2 homework problems. What makes these 2 or these 3, I guess the one we're about to do and the 2 from the homework, what makes these the same? We don't really have that first step. Remember, first step was get a variable by itself, and we have choice as far as how we want to do it. We can see, hopefully, on this first one that our step 1 is already done for us. There is an x already by itself on one side of the equation. Okay, so that's going to be the exact same as these homework problems. You've got a y by itself, and we've got an x by itself. It doesn't have to be x, it doesn't have to be y, it's just one of the 4 variables. Okay, so step 1's done. We're jumping right to step 2, which is definitely the bigger, like the most work as far as all the steps go. So step 2 now is taking whatever's opposite your variable, the one that's by itself, x equals whatever this expression is, 6y minus 7, and then here comes the substitution. I'm going to substitute that expression into this other equation wherever I see an x. So I'm going to replace this x with that expression. Use parentheses. So here we go. Step 2. I recopy this down, 4 times x, so 4 times, but instead of x, I'm going to say 6y minus 7. You can put the dot, you can put the 4 right next to it, doesn't matter. And then everything else gets copied. Plus y equals negative 3. All right, so that's kind of the actual substitution portion, which is kind of easy. You just substitute it in there. This is the work part of it. Now I've got some distributive property. I basically got to get this y all by itself, right? We're down to just a single variable, but there's a couple of them. So the first step here is a distributive property, 24y, and then 4 times negative 7 is negative 28, or minus 28, plus y equals negative 3. Show all these steps. Let's combine our like terms. 24 plus 1y is 25y, and then I'm bringing the minus 28 down, and we're equal to negative 3. All right, we're shrinking it. Got rid of the parentheses, combine some like terms. Let's add 28 to both sides, plus 28 plus 28. So now 25y equals 25. Again, it's shrinking, it's getting down there. We're almost got this y by itself. We'll divide both sides by 25. And we end up with y equal to 1. Okay, I like my answer. There's lots of spots though. Distributive, combining like terms, adding the opposite to both sides, division. There's a lot of steps and a lot of spots for potentially making errors. So take your time, show each one of these steps. That's where some of us were lacking on the homework assignment. Third step, and this was definitely a spot where just about everybody was kind of missing. Not everyone, but a lot of us. Where it's really a second substitution now. Now that I've got an answer, this is half my answer. There's an x and a y answer. I know at y equals 1, I need to go all the way back and substitute. This is my third step here. Well, that's supposed to be a 3. My third step is now to resubstitute. So x equals, I'm recopying this one, 6, but instead of times y, I'm going to replace the y with 1. Okay, and then this is how we're going to find out what x is. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 minus 7 is negative 1. Okay. So for each problem, I should end up with really two answers, an x value and a y value. Okay, and then the other part that a lot of us were lacking is we got to make sure we're checking the solutions here. Okay, I know checking sometimes is, oh man, I got to check it. I want to see your checks. Okay, so the check is it's really a substitution for a third and fourth time, but a little bit more. There's nothing really to solve for. It's just kind of evaluate each side. So let's go to this first equation here, and we're going to say x, so negative 1 equals 6 times y, which is hopefully 1, which is what we're saying it is, minus 7, and then it's just really, okay, the left side is done. There's just a negative 1 there. What do we get on the right side? We did it already. 6 times 1 minus 7 is negative 1. So this one checks out. We said that the other day, that that's usually a pretty easy check. We haven't worked with this other equation yet, so this is the one that's potentially going to tell us that we've either made a mistake or we got it right. So let's do it. 4 times, let's see, replace this x with negative 1 plus, so I'm copying the plus y, which we're saying is 1, and then equal to negative 3. So again, it's just a matter of, like, let's evaluate this side here. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So it does. It checks out. I think my answer is good. We didn't do this the other day. A lot of times you'll see your answer kind of written as an ordered pair, because really, going back to the previous lesson, these are two lines. If we were to graph this line and this line, we would see that they intersect at the point negative 1, 1. So the last two problems on the homework assignment, the previous assignment, was having you graph, just reviewing 5.1, but they're totally connected. It's a system of equations. It's where these two lines would intersect on a graph. Okay, so that's the first part. Go back and watch any parts you need to as far as work. You can see I'm not giving you all the space just for you to go to Photomath and just copy down y equals this, x equals this. And it's really easy to tell on your work when you're doing that. Okay, I think it's very clear as far as what I'm expecting as far as work-wise. If we're looking to get full credit on the assignments, that's what we need to be doing. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total problems on today's assignment. Okay, the next two problems on the surface kind of look the same, but what's the difference? We saw this last time. Now we actually do have that first step where I don't have a variable by itself to start the problem. So that's where we got to kind of get on our notes. We'll do one like that, and that'll be our notes for the day. So again, go back and watch last times if you're looking for what happened here. It's the same thing that we're about to work through. We'll just grab the next one up, which would be right here. So to start this problem, I'm looking at, I do need a step 1. I don't have a variable by itself. I've got an x, I've got a y, I've got an x, I've got a y, but they're with stuff. Everything's kind of together. So I see this as, I'm going to grab this top equation. Here's my step 1. And I'm just going to recopy it for the time being. X minus 2y equals 7. But I'm going to add 2y to both sides. Y, what does that do for me? Well, it gets this x all alone over here, and then I have 7 plus 2y on the right side of this equation. So this one does have kind of a shorter first step, and then on the previous homework assignment, that's what I was asking to do on 1 through 4, and we did a pretty good job with that, getting a variable by itself. Now comes kind of the big work portion of the problem. So now we're kind of picking up where we started the last problem. I've got a variable by itself. I totally do this if you want. Circle what's being substituted. So now I'm going to take whatever this is, 7 plus 2y, and go to my other equation, and wherever I see the x, because that is hopefully what we've solved for. We've got the x by itself, and then we copy it down just like we did the last time. 3 times, let's see, not x anymore, but 7 plus 2y. So this is my second step. Minus 2y equals 3. So I'm recopying the problem, the bottom equation in this case, but replacing a substitution. So there's the substitution part. Here's the work portion. Distribute. Very similar work as the last one. 21, 3 times 7 is 21, plus 3 times 2y is 6y. And we've got the minus 2y equal to 3. So far so good. We got rid of our parentheses. Let's combine our like terms. 6y minus 2y equals 4y. Let's not forget about this 21. It's shrinking just like the last one. Let's get rid of the 21. Minus 21, minus 21. On both sides, 4y equals negative 18. And we'll divide both sides by 4. So this is the first one we're doing together. There might have been one in the homework, actually. I got to double check. I don't remember off the top of my head, but where this doesn't divide cleanly, and that's okay. So negative 4.5. It's not a terrible number. It's not like a continuous decimal. Negative 4.5. It is what it is, and sometimes that'll happen. So it doesn't mean my answer's wrong, but it's just, all right, it's a decimal. Let's get our x. That's half my answer. Don't stop here. Too many of us were stopping after this. I know it's a lot of work. You get there, but we're past the halfway point actually. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to come all the way up to this one right here. So here's my step 3. I'm going to recopy what I've kind of boxed in green here. X equals 7 plus 2, but not times y anymore. I know what y is. Y is negative 4.5. All right. So let's evaluate it. What is 2 times negative 4.5? That's negative 9. So just this portion is negative 9. Negative 9 plus 7 is negative 2. So I'm feeling pretty good about my answers. I don't think I made any mistakes, otherwise I would have fixed it, obviously. The last portion is as important as any, is the check. Okay, so last thing to do is, whoops, you can circle that there, is check it. Now we kind of came to a rewritten one here, so it is important to go back to the originals and make sure that both of these values work out in both equations. So let's start with the top one. So I'm going to start with x, which we're saying is negative 2. I'm replacing this. Minus 2 times negative 4.5. All right, because that's what we're doing. Minus 2 times negative 4.5. And then we're hoping to be equal to 7. There's a lot of minuses, negatives, so just kind of watch this here. This might be one that it's not going to hurt us to do it in 2 separate steps. So negative 2 times negative 4.5 is positive 9. So then negative 2 plus 9 is positive 7. So that one does check out, but make sure you're taking your time. At minimum, you're using your calculator to kind of double check that there. So the first one checks out. Let's get the second one checked. 3, I'm getting a little bit tight on space, but I think we can do it. 3 times x, which is negative 2, we're hoping it's negative 2. Another minus, another one with lots of minus in it. Negative 2 times y, which is negative 4.5. And then equal to 3. So there's a lot going on here. I'm definitely going to do this in 2 separate parts. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 2, just like before, negative 2 times negative 4.5 is actually positive 9. And then negative 6 plus 3 is 3. Checks out. Decimal had me a little bit nervous there. I didn't remember having one on here, but it checks out. I know my answer's correct. So that's the second type of problem that we saw in the homework last time. It's the second one we're going to see here today. So for both of these, watch the previous example where you have that kind of that smaller first step, getting a variable by itself. But the work is about the same as it was on the previous one with a little bit extra there. I'm looking for checks. And that's kind of it. I do have you, because I mentioned at the start, the only thing on the back with the graphs, I want us to stay on the graphs. That's still part of this chapter, solving by graphing. We'll take some time. I'll probably push out a 5, 1, and 2 review assignment, maybe even by Friday, just to kind of get some practice with that. I'll actually kind of go over. I know we're not really going over the homework. I'm just kind of looking at it and seeing how you're doing. But we will definitely go over one of the homework assignments as a review, and maybe even this one we can kind of go through. But make sure, again, you're graphing this line and seeing where they intersect. Wherever they intersect is your solution. You should end up with a solution that looks just like this. We didn't do it on this one, but we probably should have, where I write my answer as an ordered pair, -2, -4.5. This one would be kind of tough to do on a graph because it's intersecting at a half one, but that's what you would see if we were to graph these lines here. This one's a little bit more work, right? We got to get the y by itself, slope-intercept form, graph them, where do they intersect. That's the assignment. So there's nothing after that. It's those 6 problems, a little bit shorter of an assignment, but that's all the more that I expect it to be good as far as the work that you're showing. I'll give you some time. I'll make this due next Monday, so you've got time to do it. But that's the lesson. That's the assignment. That'll be it for 5.2. There are other things that we didn't quite get to as far as sometimes we get a little bit lost sometimes on just the math part of it. There are word problems that go along with it, and I wish we were able to kind of do some of that stuff together, just because it's a little bit more meaningful when we can tie a little situation to it. But basically what we got is kind of learning the concepts right now. So go back, rewatch anything that you need to. Email me if there's questions. If you're stuck, again, I can work stuff out on a whiteboard for you if there's something that you're having trouble with. So there's the lesson.